You arrive here with a quiet ache that doesn't leave when the bills are paid. It's the ache of carrying promise in one hand and confusion in the other, of feeling capable and yet watching money slip through small fractures you can't fully name. If that's you, breathe with me for a moment. Inhale slowly through the nose. Let the air spread behind your ribs. Exhale like you're setting down a heavy bag. I see you. I know the fatigue of trying harder without moving closer. I know the sting of advice that sounds clever but collapses when life gets complicated. You are not broken. You are early in your wisdom, and wisdom is where this path begins. There is a line, ancient and steady, that says wisdom speaks and riches walk with her, as if wealth weren't a prize to be hunted, but a companion that follows those who honor understanding. Sit with that for a moment. If wealth follows wisdom, then the question shifts from how do I get more to how do I become someone whom provision recognizes? It is a gentler question. It is a braver question. It asks for dignity before speed, for clarity before noise, for discernment before strategy. When the inner compass is true, the outer steps turn from frantic to deliberate. When the heart is steady, the mind stops bargaining with fear. This is a spiritual journey that touches the nervous system as much as the soul. When anxiety rises, the body floods itself with signals that make short-term choices look like survival, and survival often buys what wisdom would decline. When we slow our breath, lengthen our exhales, and bring attention back to the present moment, the prefrontal regions that plan and prioritize light up, and the stress circuits quiet down. Calm is not a luxury here. It is the doorway to better financial decisions. This is why we pause. This is why we listen. This is why we will take our time. The calm mind sees patterns. The calm heart recognizes timing. The calm life spends less energy repairing mistakes and more energy building value. Money, for all its noise in our world, remains simple at its core. It flows toward value, and value emerges where wisdom solves real problems with integrity and consistency. We will speak about value like a craftsman speaks about tools, carefully, practically, without shame. We will speak about the storehouse within you, the shelves of attention and skill and order that either invite provision or scatter it. We will name the habits that leak resources, not to accuse, but to relieve you of false guilt and replace it with clear next steps. We will honor patience as a strategy and honor honesty as an engine, because both are slower than impulse, but faster than regret. As you listen, let this be different from the videos that make your chest tight with urgency. Take notes, not to copy a script, but to capture one sentence that opens a window in your mind. You might choose one practice each day, not 5, and you might practice it quietly, steadily, like watering a seed that doesn't seem to change until suddenly it does. If a sentence stirs you, pause the video and breathe. If a memory rises of a decision you still carry, place your hand over your chest and let compassion be the first response. Awareness grows in the soil of kindness. Change built on shame does not last. Change built on dignity becomes a lifestyle. I will be firm with you because I respect you. Some truths may land like cool water on a burn. At first they sting, then they soothe, then they heal. You may hear that disorder quietly taxes your income, and you may recognize it in a junk drawer, in a calendar with no margin, in subscriptions that nibble at your peace. You may hear that dishonest scales, small exaggerations, late promises, slippery terms, corrode trust, and trust is the most valuable currency your work will ever hold. You may hear that counsel is not optional if you want doors to open, because people are often the bridges to the rooms where opportunity sits. None of this is an accusation. All of this is an invitation. If you feel resistance, name it. I'm tired. I'm afraid to start again. I don't trust myself yet. Say it out loud with a gentle tone, as if speaking to a dear friend who needs courage more than correction. Neuroscience tells us that naming emotion reduces its grip. Spiritually, it is a form of truth-telling that clears the fog. When you tell the truth to yourself, you stop spending money and time to cover what could be healed. When you tell the truth to yourself, you create space for wise action to enter. This is how wisdom begins to lead, and this is how wealth learns your name. Imagine a gate at the edge of a city. On one side is hurry, noise, and the endless chase. On the other side is order, counsel, and the slow fire of character. The gate does not swing open because you knock louder. It opens because you carry yourself with the kind of clarity that makes gatekeepers trust you. Clarity in your numbers, clarity in your promises, clarity in your purpose. When you become clear, choices get lighter, not because life becomes easy, but because you begin deciding from who you are rather than what you fear. Repetition matters here. Calm, then clarity. Clarity, then choice. Choice, then consistency. Consistency, then increase. Calm, then clarity. Clarity, then choice. Choice, then consistency. Consistency, then increase. You may have been told that attraction is a trick, a script, or a set of words to say in the mirror. We will not go there. We will go deeper. Attraction begins in the soil of attention. What you notice grows, and the mind, through its reticular systems, starts to surface opportunities that match your active focus. When you nourish wisdom, you teach your attention to look for what is valuable, not just what is urgent. When you practice integrity, you teach your community to trust you with larger assignments. When you establish order, you teach your money where to live and what to become. Over time, this becomes a quiet magnetism. You are not chasing, you are becoming. So, settle into your chair. Loosen your jaw. Let your shoulders drop. Give yourself permission to learn without pressure, to be challenged without shame, to feel without drowning. If wealth follows wisdom, what would change in your next 24 hours if you honored wisdom first? Hold that question softly. Let it echo through your body. Let it meet your past without judgment and your future without fear. We will walk this path together, one steady step at a time, not to impress anyone, but to become someone. Someone whose life is ordered, honest, well-counseled, and patiently fruitful. When wisdom leads, money no longer feels like a storm to survive. It becomes a river to steward. Now, breathe, and let's begin. There is a quiet reversal that loosens the knot in the chest and clears the fog from the mind. The chase slows. The heart steadies. Money stops feeling like a startled bird and begins to feel like a steady companion that walks with those who learn to listen. The ancient voice whispers that riches travel with wisdom, as if wealth were not a prize to be hunted, but a presence that keeps step with understanding. The moment this lands, urgency changes shape. The question changes shape. Instead of asking how to force doors to open, the soul begins to ask how to become the kind of person a door recognizes. Dignity before speed, clarity before noise, discernment before strategy. The sequence matters, and you can feel it in your body. Shoulders lower, breath lengthens, thought becomes clean. Every economy answers to value, and value is born where wisdom meets a real problem with steady hands and honest eyes. Feel how different this is from trying to be impressive. Feel how the nervous system softens when the goal is to be useful. When anxiety drives the day, attention shrinks and choices get small. When calm returns, perception widens, patterns emerge, and your work begins to carry the weight of meaning. The mind that has room to breathe can see the small hinges that move large doors. The heart that has permission to be still can hear the quiet instructions that impatience drowns. Value begins within, not in a noisy marketplace, but in a room where you gather your attention, gather your questions, gather your tools. This inner room is your workshop. Wisdom is the craftsman who teaches your hands how to shape something other people truly need. In that room, you will notice the difference between shiny and strong, between popular and proven, between effort that looks busy and effort that builds. You will notice that you are at your best when you are honest about what you know and humble about what you do not know. Humility makes space for learning. Learning makes space for excellence. Excellence quietly earns the trust that money follows. There is also a river within you, the river of attention. What you water grows. What you starve dries out. If your attention is scattered, The river splits into many thin streams that cannot carry anything of weight. If your attention is guided by wisdom, the flow gathers strength and begins to move resources in a single clear direction. You can sense this during an ordinary day. When you are calm, the prefrontal regions that plan and prioritize wake up, and the inner alarms settle. When the alarms settle, you buy time for reflection, and reflection buys clarity. Clarity is expensive in a world that sells confusion. The good news is that clarity can be cultivated. It is a practice, not a personality. Imagine a table with simple tools laid out in the light, a notebook, a quiet reading, a question that matters. This is the place where wisdom teaches you to increase value, not louder, truer, not faster, truer. If you listen carefully each day, even for a small span, you begin to collect sentences that shape your decisions, a sentence that sharpens a skill, a sentence that names the pain you are meant to solve, a sentence that reminds you that integrity is the long road, and the long road is the only road that holds. These are seeds. The soil of repetition turns them into roots. There is another movement that matters, the shift from getting to giving, from extraction to contribution. Money follows solutions. Solutions come from seeing people clearly and caring about what hurts them. Wisdom looks at the world and asks which problem your hands were made to ease. It studies not to perform, but to serve with precision. Then it builds a way of showing that service to the world that can be trusted. This is the slow power that outlives trends. When people can trust what you offer and how you offer it, they return. They bring others. Reputation becomes capital that no market swing can erase. At the same time, wisdom does not ignore your limits. It knows that the body needs rhythm, that creativity burns out without rest, that clarity dissolves in clutter. It brings order to your inner storehouse, so that provision has a place to land. It sorts your priorities so that your day stops leaking energy. It teaches you to say a holy no to what dilutes your craft. The result is not a rigid life, but a strong life. Not a life without pressure, but a life that can bear pressure without cracking. Honesty belongs at the center of this chapter, not the heavy kind that shames, the clear kind that liberates. If you have promised more than you delivered, wisdom invites a better promise. If you have priced in a way that confuses, wisdom invites clean language. If you have allowed small untruths to creep into your story, wisdom invites a return to the straight path. Trust is a living thing. It grows when your words and your results agree. It shrinks when they do not. Over time, that growth becomes a form of compound favor. People feel safe in your presence. Safety lowers friction. Low friction increases lifetime value. This is not a trick. It is character expressed through consistent practice. The image for this chapter is water, a spring in a quiet field. No noise. No rush. Clear water rising from a hidden source and moving outward to nourish everything it touches. Wisdom is the spring. Wealth is the stream that forms beside it and keeps pace. You cannot drag the stream ahead of the spring. You tend the source. You protect it from pollution. You keep it flowing. In seasons of drought, you defend it from panic. In seasons of rain, you guide its edges so it does not flood. Tending the source is the work. The stream will follow. There is also the work of skill. Wisdom does not despise skill. It delights in it. It says that excellence is a language people can feel without translation. Take the craft already in your hands and look at it with fresh attention. Where can it be sharpened? Where can it be simplified? Where can it relieve more pain? The market will tell you when you are close. You will feel it in the response. You will see it in the steady return of those you serve. When wisdom shapes skill, the result is value that attracts resources without begging for them. Let this chapter leave a small mark on your day, a gentle mark, perhaps a quiet reading that becomes a daily anchor, perhaps a short time set aside to map the problems you are uniquely positioned to solve, perhaps one simple application that can be done before the day ends. Not a wide net, a careful net, not more noise, more truth. Over time, the small, faithful moves change your posture toward money. You begin to stand taller. You negotiate from peace. You build with patience. You sense timing. You see openings others miss because they are moving too fast to notice. You are not behind. You are beginning again, this time with a compass that points to what lasts. Wisdom first, then the rest. Say it softly until it sinks in. Wisdom first, then the rest. In the quiet afterward, notice the part of your life that longs to be led by understanding rather than by fear. Notice the part of your work that could become more valuable if wisdom touched it. Notice the sentence in this chapter that keeps echoing after the sound has faded. That echo is your next step, not out of pressure, but out of alignment. Hold this question gently as the scene fades. What skill, mastered wisely, would make you undeniably valuable in the season ahead? There is a way the heart knows when a space is ready, a kitchen that is clean before the meal, a field that is cleared before the planting, a workshop where each tool has a home. The same is true of money. Disorder quietly repels it, order invites it, not from magic, from capacity. When wisdom speaks of preparing the work outside and then building the house, it is describing a sequence that heals anxiety and reduces waste. First, make room, then welcome increase. When this sequence is honored, the body loosens and the mind steadies. The inner argument grows quiet. You can hear your life again. Chaos taxes more than the calendar. It taxes the nervous system. When bills are scattered and tasks collide, the stress circuits stay lit and the planning centers dim. Decisions tilt toward relief rather than purpose. The day becomes a fire to put out rather than a path to walk. Order is not a personality trait. It is a kindness to your brain. It lowers noise, it reduces hidden costs, it returns attention to the present, where careful choices can be made. The plans of the diligent lead to profit because planning protects energy, and energy is the fuel of value. Imagine a simple storehouse with tidy shelves. Nothing fancy, just a clear place for what matters. Money behaves the same way. It looks for a place to land and a reason to stay. When your attention is scattered, money passes through like wind through an open door. When your attention is arranged, money finds a container and a purpose. A small rhythm changes everything. Not bigger effort, cleaner effort, not more hours, clearer hours. The moment your life has a place for provision, you stop paying the quiet tax of confusion. Some people find relief when they give their money a few named homes, essentials, invest, give. 3 simple jars that turn fog into form. With names like these, each dollar learns its job before it arrives. The mind rests, the heart breathes. Surprises still come, but they do not unseat you. There is also wisdom in reserving a little space that is not spoken for, a margin that behaves like oxygen. That margin is not laziness. It is the room where opportunity stretches its legs and where mistakes do not become crises. There is a quiet art to removing what bleeds. It begins by noticing where small leaks hide, a subscription that no longer serves, a habit that buys ease at the expense of peace, a purchase that pretends to be necessary but only fills silence. When these leaks are named, they lose power. When they lose power, margin return. As margin returns, the mind stops bargaining with fear and begins choosing from clarity. This is where order becomes a shield for your future rather than a cage for your present. Rhythm helps more than willpower. When essential payments move on their own with clear timing, the mind is spared the constant vigilance that breeds fatigue. When saving becomes a quiet pattern that happens without drama, the spirit is freed to focus on the craft of creating value. Automation is not cold, it is warm. It is a promise kept in the background so that your best attention can serve people in the foreground. This is stewardship. It is love expressed through structure. Time needs order as much as money does. A week that has a home for rest will protect your judgment. A day that has a home for deep work will protect your focus. A morning that begins without frantic input will protect your peace. When your time is scattered, money follows the scatter. When your time is arranged, money learns the same arrangement. You begin to sense this stability in your body. Breathing grows slower, shoulders lower, Thoughts move in clean lines. The soul stops bracing for impact and starts preparing for growth. Order is not harsh. It is merciful. It speaks in clear sentences. Spend on what is essential. Invest in what grows you and others. Give in ways that keep your heart open and your hands honest. These sentences do not shrink life. They enlarge it. They make space for meaning. They make space for relationships. They make space for work that deserves your whole presence. When you live inside this clarity, you are not ruled by the next urge or the next advertisement. You are guided by an inner agreement that cannot be bought. There will be days when disorder returns and tries to claim rent. On those days, remember the storehouse. See the shelves in your mind. Place things back where they belong. Return to the small rhythm that worked before the noise grew loud. Strength is not the absence of mess. Strength is the habit of returning to order without shame. Each return teaches your nervous system that you are safe. Each return teaches your money that it has a home. Wisdom speaks softly over all of this. Prepare the work first, then build the house. It is not a rebuke, it is a rescue. Plans made with care, steps taken with calm, patterns that respect your limits and your hopes. This is the ground where good seed takes root. This is the ground where increase does not go to waste. This is the ground where abundance does not frighten you because you have room to hold it. Hold this question gently as the scene settles. Where is chaos quietly taxing your income? There is a settling that happens when truth takes the front seat. The jaw unclenches. The breath rounds out. The mind stops juggling excuses and begins to see clean lines. Under that calm, work becomes lighter because there is nothing to hide and nothing to prop up. The old wisdom that speaks of honest scales is not scolding from a distant age. It is a map for living with a clear spine and an untroubled pulse. When the measure is straight, the soul rests. When the soul rests, decisions stop wobbling. Dishonest scales do not always look loud. They often look like small exaggerations that no one will notice, timelines that slide without confession, promises padded with glitter that fades on contact with reality. The body feels the strain of that gap. Heart rate quickens, focus fractures. Energy bleeds into managing perceptions instead of serving people. Honesty closes the gap. The nervous system downshifts. Attention returns to the work itself. What seemed heavy becomes workable. The calm that follows is not empty. It is productive. It is dignified. Trust is not a slogan. Trust is earned when language and outcome walk in step. When the price says one thing and the experience says the same thing, a customer's shoulders lower. When a delivery arrives when it was said to arrive, a memory is made that does not need repair. Each alignment reduces friction. Each reduction in friction lengthens the life of the relationship. Over time, that life compounds. It turns first transactions into lasting agreements. It turns single referrals into steady streams. It turns effort into favor that grows while you sleep. There is a beauty in plain speech. Clear terms, clear boundaries, clear expectations, not harsh, not bare, clear. Clarity does not shrink value, it reveals it. When an offer is described without fog, people know where they stand. When a limitation is named openly, people feel protected rather than sold. When a mistake is acknowledged without delay, people feel seen rather than handled. This kind of honesty is not weakness. It is strength that wears no disguise. It is the sound of a life that intends to match every word with weight. Haste has its own shine, but its shine does not last. Wealth grabbed in a rush tends to slip through the same hands that grabbed it. The fast path often skips the work of character, and character is the only container that can hold increase without cracking. The steady path looks slower at first. It can feel almost invisible next to louder strategies. Yet it builds the only kind of reputation that survives weather. Clients return not because they were dazzled, but because they were kept safe. Colleagues vouch for you not because you are loud, but because you are reliable. Quietly, this becomes a shield against volatility. Picture a set of balanced scales on a counter worn smooth by many days of honest trade. Each weight is what it says it is. Each measure stands up to the light. Over time, people learn the feel of that room. They relax before the measuring begins. They bring their questions and their friends because the air itself feels safe. That is what clean scales do. They create a field of belonging around your work. Belonging is magnetic. People return to the places where their dignity remains intact. There is a place where all of this begins, and it is not in public. It is the private room where motives are checked and stories are rewritten, so they tell the whole truth. When a person becomes truthful with their own heart, the excess noise drops. The mind stops building protective narratives and starts building real solutions. Even the body shifts. The stress that fuels urgency loosens its grip. The regions of thought that plan and prioritize brighten. Choices mature. Timing sharpens. Without strain, better work emerges. The fruit of straight dealing is not only external. There is an interior wealth that grows when a life refuses to deviate from the level path. Sleep deepens. Creativity returns. Courage rises without bark or bite. Gratitude becomes a frequent guest. With that inner wealth, new rooms open. Gatekeepers feel it before you speak. Your presence carries a kind of assurance that tightens the weave of partnerships and accelerates the flow of opportunity. The cost is simple, but not small. Tell the truth even when silence would be easier. Keep the promise even when delay would be cheaper. Let every yes carry the weight of completion. Over seasons, this integrity turns into a reputation that arrives before you. Doors swing with less effort. Negotiations soften at the edges. Referrals come without orchestration. It feels like favor, and in many ways it is. But it is not random. It is the return on consistency. It is the yield of a long obedience to plain dealing. It is the quiet harvest of a soul that chose clean scales when no one was watching. Hold this question where you can hear it after the sound fades. Where could perfect honesty make my offer irresistible? There is a moment when the path widens because a voice beside you adds sight to your sight. The shoulders lower, the breath deepens, the mind stops believing it must invent every solution alone. Wisdom has always walked in company. Plans that felt heavy find balance when shared eyes read them. Doubts that felt fatal become data when seasoned people speak calmly into them. This is not weakness. This is strength that refuses isolation. Reputation lays the floor where opportunity walks. Money may travel through systems and screens, yet it almost always arrives through people. A friend who vouches for your character, a former client who remembers your care, a quiet advocate who mentions your name in a room you have not yet entered. The bridge looks simple from the outside. On the inside, it is braided from many strands. Consistency, candor, humility, results that match the promise. Over time, these strands become a cord that can carry weight. There is a kind of wealth that grows only in conversation, not the loud kind that performs opinion, the patient kind that listens for what is true. When two minds sit with a question, the air in the room changes. One sees the pattern, the other sees the timing. One names the risk, the other names the route through it. You leave lighter, not because the challenge vanished, but because wisdom multiplied. Counsel does this. It multiplies clarity. Gatekeepers feel credibility before they see credentials. They sense steadiness in your tone. They notice whether your story is aligned. They watch how you hold a boundary without breaking relationship. Credibility is not a costume we put on for important meetings. It is the residue of private integrity. It is the quiet follow-through that accumulated when no one was clapping. When credibility enters a room, doors soften. When credibility speaks, noise lowers. Opportunity prefers rooms where dignity is protected. Community is not an accessory. Community is infrastructure. The right companions shorten the distance between confusion and decision. The right mentors stretch your horizon without shaming your pace. The right peers keep your compass honest when success tries to seduce it. In a world that teaches self against the world, this sounds simple. It is not simple. It is a craft. It asks for presence over performance. It asks for curiosity over certainty. It asks for generosity that is not a tactic, but a way of being. There is a rhythm to giving before receiving that never leaves you empty. A note shared without keeping score. An introduction offered because you sensed two lives would bless one another. A small solution gifted to someone who has been held back by a problem you already learned to solve. Alone, these gestures look small. Together, they create a field around your name. People feel safe there. Safety is magnetic. In that field, you are remembered when others are forgetting to show up. Testimony is a living thing. It breathes inside the stories people tell about you when you are not in the room. It grows when your work carries kindness as well as skill. It grows when you handle confusion with patience and conflict with clean lines. It grows when you apologize without theater and repair without delay. Over time, the stories gather. They begin to travel faster than any advertisement. They arrive before you do and make a way where force would have failed. Advice without accountability is thin. Accountability without compassion is brittle. The kind of counsel that changes seasons blends both. Someone who will ask the question you were avoiding and offer the dignity you feared you would lose by answering it. Someone who will celebrate progress without flattering you into complacency. Someone who can hold silence without rushing to fill it. Under that gaze, the nervous system steadies. Under that gaze, your best thinking returns. Then your best choices arrive. Relationships can be costly in the way planting is costly. Time is spent. Energy is given. At first the ground looks unchanged. Then the first shoots appear. Then the roots take hold. Then a harvest arrives that could never have grown in a solitary field. In the same way, doors that once stayed shut begin to open from the inside. The call arrives, the meeting is offered, the partnership takes shape. It feels like luck. It is not luck. It is the natural yield of relational stewardship. Let the image be a city gate at first light. Traders gather. Elders confer. Travelers watch and wait. The gate does not respond to volume. It responds to wisdom. It recognizes a face that has stood the test of honesty. It remembers the report of fair dealing. It honors those who honored others. When your life carries that memory, thresholds become less hostile. When your voice carries that sound, negotiations become less sharp and more human. If this chapter leaves one imprint, let it be simple. People are not obstacles to wealth. People are the path. Honor turns contacts into kin. Service turns moments into seasons. Consistency turns presence into influence that does not need to shove. Counsel steadies vision. Credibility opens doors. Together they form a way of walking that money respects. Hold this question where it can echo after the sound fades. Who holds the key to the room where my next opportunity sits? There is a wisdom in the way the earth works that calms the nervous system and straightens the spine. Seed first, soil next. Water in rhythm, then the weight that feels empty until it is suddenly full. Money that arrives like a harvest follows the same law. The field does not shout at the sky. The field receives its season, does what the season allows, and trusts the hidden work below the surface. When this cadence enters the body, the jaw loosens and the breath grows long. Hurry loses its power. You begin to sense that increase has a tempo and that you are safest when you move with it. Many fields does not mean frantic motion. It means a wise spread of attention so that no single weather ruins the year. It means a core work that carries your name and a second plot where quiet seeds learn the sun. The first field holds your current provision and deserves careful tending. The second field holds your future and deserves patient beginnings. Diversification is not a trick. It is humility that admits change will come and prepares a different door for it. It is steadiness that refuses to let one path define the entire story. The brain favors what offers quick relief, especially under stress, and this tilt can sabotage the patient choices that build durable wealth. When you slow your breath and lengthen your exhale, the regions of thought that plan and prioritize come back online. Discounting the future softens, impulse loses its shine. This is not theory when money is on the line. It is a felt shift. The heartbeat steadies, the shoulders settle. Long horizon decisions return to the table. The same practice that calms emotion also protects investment because it restores the capacity to wait for a right time rather than reaching for a loud time. Think of your income like a river system. There is a strong main channel that carries most of the flow. Alongside it, there can be a smaller stream that runs from the craft you already possess, shaped into a clean, portable offering that travels well. Beyond the surface, there is an underground aquifer that grows through steady contributions to assets that do their work quietly while you sleep. When the main channel runs low, the side stream helps. When the side stream dries in a season, the deeper water still moves. Together they create resilience that noise cannot easily shake. There is a simple beauty in turning what you know into something that serves while you rest. A small guide that answers a recurring question. A workshop distilled into a form that can be replayed. A service shaped so clearly that it can be delivered with less strain and more consistency. This is not about chasing every new trend. It is about taking what is already honest in your hands and teaching it to travel. With time, what began as a secondary plot becomes a fruitful field in its own right, and the weight of your well-kept promises feeds its soil. Steady investing behaves like faithful weather. It does not shout. It repeats. It arrives on schedule regardless of mood. When the world is loud, it stays calm. When the world is quiet, it stays calm. Consistency becomes a teacher that trains emotion to sit while wisdom speaks. Over long spans, small deposits become strength. Over long spans, patience outperforms drama. The nervous system learns that it does not need to check the sky every hour. It can work and rest while the deeper current carries the seed forward. Patience is not passive. It is active waiting with clean hands. The farmer studies the field, the farmer reads the light, the farmer prunes what steals nourishment so the branch can bear. This is how timing becomes a companion. There are days for planting and days for protecting. There are days for pruning and days for harvesting. There are winters that teach roots to reach and summers that teach branches to share shade. When you accept the weather as part of the work, you stop wasting energy on what cannot be hurried and start investing energy in what can be prepared. Diversification without order becomes scatter. Order without diversification becomes fragility. The earlier chapters speak underneath this one. Keep the shelves clear so provision has a home. Keep the scales clean so trust can grow. Keep counsel near so blind spots are found before they become cliffs. When relationships are honored, new fields appear in the form of invitations and partnerships that were invisible before. The path widens, not because you pushed, but because your name carried a report of steadiness. Risk asks for respect, not fear. Multiple fields are not an excuse to exhaust yourself, nor a reason to gamble with what feeds your household. The wise pattern is light footprints at first, planted near the strengths you already own, expanded as rhythm and results prove themselves. You are not trying to be everywhere. You are cultivating a few places deeply enough that the soil begins to remember you. In that memory there is protection. In that protection, your confidence grows without noise. Something changes inside when you embrace the identity of a grower. The language softens, the posture steadies, the eyes that once hunted for quick wins begin to read the ground for slow gains. Your work carries the fragrance of patience. Your voice trades urgency for authority. People feel safer around you because you are not pulling on the fruit. You are tending the roots. Safety is magnetic. It draws repeat business. It draws long agreements. It draws the kind of favor that arrives quietly and stays. Repetition belongs here. Plant, then tend. Tend, then rest. Rest, then watch. Watch, then water. Water, then wait. The order matters. The body learns it. The mind learns it. The spirit learns it. When a setback comes, the pattern holds you. When a wave of opportunity comes, the pattern guides you. In both weather and wealth, patterns outlast moods. Hold this question where it can echo after the sound fades. Which second field can I plant this month without neglecting the first? A day shaped by this path often opens in quiet. A gentle reading that steadies the breath and turns the mind toward wisdom. A few lines captured where an insight settles and a small application finds its form. The inner room feels ordered. Attention gathers, the body softens. From that center, the day begins to carry a different weight. Not heavy, clear. The hours are no longer scattered across every noise. They are arranged around what truly matters. Provision finds a home when money is taught where to live. Essentials rest in their place. Growth has its corner. Generosity keeps the heart open. A margin is kept like oxygen. Quiet systems move in the background so the best energy can serve people in the foreground. Decisions stop wobbling. Hidden taxes of confusion shrink. Calm returns, and with it better judgment. Plans made with care begin to protect what you are building. Honesty keeps the path level. Promises carry the weight of completion. Prices speak plain language. Timelines match the truth. When gaps appear, they are named and repaired without theater. Trust grows because words and outcomes agree. Each agreement reduces friction. Each reduction lengthens the life of the relationship. Over seasons, this becomes a quiet engine that turns effort into lasting favor. Relationship is tended like a living garden. Mentors who see farther, peers who keep the compass true, people you serve with steady kindness, who speak your name when rooms open. You give before you are asked. You connect without keeping score. Testimony gathers around your work and travels ahead of you. Doors soften because credibility enters before you do. Opportunity prefers rooms where dignity is protected. Increase learns patience. One field holds the work that feeds today. Another field grows from the skill already in your hands. Beneath both runs a deeper current where quiet contributions grow while you rest. Weather shifts, yet the roots hold. You stop pulling on fruit and return to tending the roots. Patterns replace moods. Plant and tend. Tend and rest. Rest and watch. Watch and water. Water and wait. The order becomes a shelter when storms come and a guide when harvest arrives. These movements weave into a single life that feels both strong and kind. The fountain at the source remains wisdom. The storehouse stays ready. The scales stay clean. The gate remembers your name. The seed keeps its promise when the season is full. You are not chasing, you are becoming. You are not forcing doors. You are walking as someone doors recognize. Peace deepens. Courage grows quiet and sure. Gratitude finds you often. Let this closing rest on your chest like a hand that steadies. If prosperity follows wisdom, what will change in the next day when you honor wisdom first?